ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितमेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। रामाय रामचंद्राय सीतानाथाय पतये रक्षिता जीवलोकस्य धर्मस्य परिरक्षिता। रक्षिता स्वस्य धर्मस्य स्वजनस्य च रक्षिता. Now this verse, it is there in the Balakand when Narad Muni spoke the essence of the stories of Lord Ramachandra, and within that essence also he brings out the most important quality of Sri Ram. And therefore this verse, Rakshita Jiva Lokasya, very easy to understand. What does it do? The main purpose of Sri Ram is to protect Jiva Lokasya, everybody. Dharmasya Parirakshita. And how does he protect them? He protects through the principle of Dharma. Rakshita Swasya Dharmasya. By doing that, when he does protect people through the principle of Dharma, he also protects his own Dharma. Sasya Swajanasya Rakshita Swasya Dharmasya. His own Dharma is protecting. In this way, what does he do? He continues to protect Swajanasya, his own people. The best example, because today's topic, we are not seeing Lord Ramachandra only from the perspective of Bhagavan and Bhakta, because we are studying Valmiki's Ramayana. And Valmiki's Ramayana, it harmonizes everything. There is certainly Sharanagati, but there is Purushartha also. Certainly there is Bhakti, but there is also advice in regards to right kind of governance. We saw the art of communication, Jyotish Shastra, right? So therefore, Valmiki's Ramayana, when we study as it is, so Ramachandra Bhagavan, he does not only stand as the Avatara Tattva. He is that. We have already studied that. So he encompasses every aspect of life, making significant according to its proportional requirement. Anything which becomes atirek, then it is not productive. So therefore, when Valmiki Maharshi asked this question to Narada Muni, what was the question? Sampratam loke, konosmin sampratam loke dharmasya kritagyascha satyavakya viryavan. Right. There is dharmagya is there. First is gunavan is there. But also there is a quality of viryavan. Jitakrodha. Right. So valor is also there. So this verse, Swajanasya Parirakshita. अपने लोगों की रक्षा करने वाले. Now who are the apna people? We saw for Lord Ramachandra, punishment is not an eternal occupation. Punishment is a circumstantial reality. When Ravana does not agree to change, that tumor has to be removed, not Ravan himself. Because ultimately, Ravan is coming from the spiritual realm. Jai Vijay. What does that indicate? That indicates ultimately the Jiva in its constitutional nature, right? Nitya Siddha, Krishna Prema, या जीवेर स्वरूप, aham brahmasmi, that is the constitutional nature of jiva, ज्ञानमय, आनंदमय और सनातन. So therefore there is no eternal enmity, there are no two parties in Sanatan Dharma. This is the Rakshasas and there is Suras. Even from the historical perspective, the father of the Devatas and the Danavas is the same, Kashyap Maharshi. Two mothers, Ditya and Aditi. उनका स्रोत एक ही है, but the Chetana, the consciousness, the sanskaras are basically making them do something at least for some time, and for some time the punishment has to be given if they deserve that punishment. So Lord Ramachandra, for him from that perspective, everyone is Swajana. Right? Everyone is Swajana. There is no such distinction. Therefore, in Sanatan Dharma, there is no eternal condemnation. शाश्वत नरक का वर्णन नहीं है. Therefore, when we have studied from the typical modern educational system, it is not simply the skill of the education. That is good. Studying mathematics, studying science, studying computer science, whatever people want to study, it is not a problem. But along with comes the belief system, very subtly. Right? When the belief system comes, and what is the belief system? The belief system of the educational system coming from the Western world is the concept of you need me for saving you. You need me for reforming you. The entire program of the colonizers, it was not simply coming from a brutal mentality, but there was this wrong understanding कि मुझे आपको बचाना है, I want to save you. Because why we need to save you? First of all, you have not taken shelter of my God, plus you're a pagan religion. And if you do not take shelter of my religion, you will go to hell forever. So everything saturated with this understanding, what does it do? It makes one feel consciously and unconsciously subordinate forever in regards to confidence. And Valmiki Maharshi's Ramayana dismantles this. How does it dismantle? Because Ramachandra, for him, there is no distinction between Ravan and Lakshman in the ultimate sense. Both are servants, both are sevak. Jai Vijay also eternal sevak in the spiritual world. And Lakshman, of course, is an extension of the same Bhagavan. Therefore, from that perspective, there is a distinction. But from the seva perspective, there is no difference. Therefore, when we understand this principle, the same principle is applied in politics. The same principle is applied in relationship. The same principle is applied in psychology. The same principle is applied in devotion. And what is that principle? The principle of Rakshita Jiva Lokasya. I need to protect this. So one beautiful episode of Rakshita Jiva Lokasya, Swajanasya cha Parirakshita. Now Sita Maya, she is coming from Lanka. Sri Ramachandra had not conveyed to anyone, but some of his followers got to know there is something deep going in Sri Ram. And Sri Ram had told Vibhishan, bring Sita Devi with a great festivity. Ask her to dress very nicely. Let her come dressed nicely in a palanquin. Vibhishan goes, conveys his message. Sita Maya is not very comfortable. I want to be like this only. I want to just go and meet after so long. How can someone decorate before seeing the husband from whom is separated for so long? For her, it did not make sense. From the rasa perspective, it did not make sense, but there was an insistence from Vibhishan. So Sita Maya dressed nicely. She sat in a palanquin and she started coming from Ashoka Vatika to the outskirts of Lanka, because Sri Ramachandra cannot enter inside the Lanka unless first he goes to Ayodhya. That is what Vanvas is all about. So Sri Ramachandra was waiting for Sita Devi, and as Sita Maya sat in the palanquin, you can imagine the entire army, the army of the Kapis, Sugriva's army, and there were also hundreds and thousands of Rakshasa army. Since Sita Devi was coming from Lanka, naturally all the security forces, administration was handled by Vibhishan's army. Now it is Vibhishan's army. So they were all waiting whom this person for whom Lord Ramchandra fought. Itna bada yuddh kya? Had such a great war, destroyed entire Lanka, the great kings of Lanka, the leaders of Lanka. Who is this woman? Who is this Stree? They were all waiting. And as they were all waiting eagerly, anticipating, excited, there was a stampede also. Almost there was a stampede. So Vibhishan's army was trying to discipline the Kapi, and the description is there. They were having this, kavach, and they had a big stick in their hands, and they were basically trying to discipline. When Sri Ram saw that, right, imagine this is the king of the kings. He has the sensitivity for not causing any inconvenience to his citizens. One of the greatest tragedy in the modern politician is that once they sit on that throne, the ground level of reality, small things, sometimes they miss upon it. When you become leader, you miss upon it. Right? Your driver is waiting. You have eaten your food. Sometimes people don't even consider whether he has eaten. Small thing. Khaya kya apne? I remember one time I was in one program. The manager of the company, he actually went into the kitchen, and they told me later that he considers them also as a respectable people. So Ramchandra, we can see the leadership quality here from Lord Ram. When he saw Vibhishan's army striking at the Kapi, he chanted this verse again. He said, stop it. He said, do not strike them. They are my people. Oh, mere log hai. They are my people. Stop it. Even though Queen is not supposed to be publicly displayed by everybody, means she cannot be seen by public, Lord Ramachandra told, let her come down from the palanquin. It is okay. Right? एक तो महालक्ष्मी भी है, सीता रानी भी है, रानी भी है. And then by doing that, Lord Ramachandra indicated something which nobody knew. Many secrets were there. This is the quality of Sri Ram in regards to what? Rakshita jivalokasya swajanasya cha rakshita. And therefore, in the Valmiki's Ramayana, when Valmiki Maharshi presents, in many places, he explains Ramo Vigravahan Dharmaha. This was spoken by Marich. Marich knew the dharmikta of Sri Ramachandra. He himself had experienced. Ram did not kill Marich. He let him go by using the Manavastra. Literally, Manavastra means on the basis of humanitarian ground. उसको छोड़ दिया था. उत्तम धार्मिकश्च. This was spoken by Tara, the wife of Wali. Right. So, Lord Sri Ramachandra knew the principle of Dharma, and Dharma is very dynamic. The purpose of Sri Ram coming to this world. Yes, certainly twofold. One is the internal self and one is the external self. What is that external self? External self is establishing Dharma. That is universal. That is actually secular, but secular, not materialistic secular. Secular means connected to the universal governance. It is equal to everybody. There is no distinction. It is not discriminatory because you don't get special privileges in the external world because you are connected to somebody. Your loyalty does not give you extra advantage. Loyalty is your personal feeling. When somebody proclaims that I'm a devotee of Ramachandra, that will not give you special privileges in the outside world. You cannot go and tell, because I'm a devotee, therefore I should be given special privileges. No. Being a follower of Sri Ram or Krishna cannot be used for taking an advantage. That will not be allowed by Sri Ram himself, because he has come to establish Dharma. And the Shraddha, my dedication, my commitment, my affection for Ramchandra is not to prove to the outsiders. One of the greatest tragedy in this world, especially in the modern world about religion, it is all about imposing what I believe. My Shraddha, my faith can only be proven by undermining somebody else's faith, by making them feel you are less. But Shraddha is a very internal thing. It is not to prove, but it is to feel. ये दोनों में अंतर है. Right. So Sri Ramachandra, because he came to establish Dharma as a great king, he had no distinction, discrimination, or special privileges for simply proposing your faith. If you are dharmic, you will get the benefit. And again, when Sri Ramachandra was in the forest, Lakshman, out of his great affection for Sri Ram, when he saw the army of Bharat, right, it is said that ati prema, prema ati shanki. When there is prema, it gives rise to doubt about others. Right. When there is affection from the mother towards the son and the son gets married, the mother has the conditioning of nobody can love my son more than me. So therefore, the very person whom she has approved, whether it is arranged marriage or love marriage, the very person whom she has approved, yes, he can marry, the very person she doubts, not necessarily because of envy, because of affection also. Therefore, it is explained, aparadhas can happen for three reasons. One, because negligence. Second is because envy. And third is because of love also. So many stories like that. Recently, Radhanath Maharaj was telling, when he was with one famous musician, right, they had a jam in 1970s and the song they chose was Mother-in-Law. I said, why mother-in-law in America? They all stay separately. He said, no, the problem of mother-in-law and daughter-in-law is a universal. Even though they may not stay together, it is there. But the foundation, as I said, could be caused because of, I know my son better than anybody else. I know my guru better than anybody else. I know my philosophy better than anybody else. These kind of privileges are not appreciated by Sri Ram because they're not centered around Dharma. So Lakshmana ji, we know very clearly, his affection for Sri Ram was so deep. No, he was like a transcendentally obsessive mother. He couldn't handle any difficulties to Sri Ram when he saw the army of Bharat coming, when he went up to the tree. उस समय राजा के पुत्र राजकुमार knew the art of climbing the tree. It is one of the kala to climb the tree. So he went up. When he saw the army of Bharat, Lakshman was extremely angry. He felt that Bharat is not satisfied to have only the kingdom. Now he has come to attack also Ram. He just preconceived like that. He assumed like that. And then he had an outburst about what he will do with Bharat. Sri Ram had a complete conviction about Bharata's quality. He said, hey, wait a minute. He has not come here for that. Surely I can guarantee you. And if you think I can send you to Ayodhya, let Bharat stay here. So Prem ke karan, in the Mahabharata, in the Ramayana itself, when Indrajit, the son of Ravan, because he knew black magic, he knew all the tantras also. Therefore, creating a bewilderment amongst the people was one of the quality. So what he did was, he made false Sita Devi, and Sita Devi, apparently the false Sita Devi, they try to show that she has been slaughtered. And then Lakshmana's outburst. If you study, he questions Dharma. He questions good behavior. He says, what the hell Dharma is doing? You know, anyone who practices Dharma will always experience failure or frustration. When you study that, you may sound, how can he speak such a Gnostic philosophy? But the purpose of that Gnostic philosophy is also connected to Ram Priti. Even though it is Ram Priti, Sri Ramachandra basically slowly rectifies the behavior of Lakshman. प्रेम है, but उन फिर भी वो धार्मिक नहीं है, even though he is doing for Ramachandra's prem. So these are the qualities of Sri Ram. When Sri Ramachandra was ruling, no, before ruling, when he came to Ayodhya, came to Bharata's place, Bharat came to Chitrakoot mountains. When he came to Chitrakoot mountain, now this is the beauty of Sri Ramachandra. What is the event? What is the situation here? The situation here is that Bharat is missing Sri Ram. He wants him to come back. The departure of Dashrath Maharaj has happened. There is a mourning period. But Sri Ram, when he saw Bharat, he saw the entire family. The doubt was there about the departure of his father. But he did not immediately start the discussion. He begins by discussing about how to govern in the form of asking questions. Ramchandra is asking question to Bharat, but these questions are simply indirectly advising Bharat how to govern. And in this question, you can see Sri Ram was extremely strategic, extremely alert. He is not speaking faith to Bharat. He is speaking life to Bharat, how to rule the kingdom, how to be realistic in the kingdom. And one of the first questions Sri Ram asked Bharat. What is that question? He said, you know what, Bharat, for a kingdom to run nicely, what do you need? Certainly the foundation is good blood, good behavior. That's a foundation. But there is one more powerful foundation for the state to run. What is that? the facilities to increase the prosperity resources of the state. Dhan, Artha Vyavastha. If the Artha Vyavastha is not there, it doesn't matter how many good qualities you have. Because those good qualities, unfortunately, may not bring you resources. It may keep you poor, or it may allow somebody to exploit you because you are a good person. So what did Lord Ramachandra ask Bharat? Through question, he was warning him, do you support the great Artha Shastragya? His name is Sudanva. Is he respected? Huh? If he is not respected, if he is not remunerated, if he is not given attention to, Artha Prapti will come down. And to reconnect to the same, I am just going everywhere in this part, I am not going shloka by shloka. Imagine one more very interesting principle Ram says. In Ramachandra's life, nothing was assumed. He was very precisely mathematical. He understood the psychology of people. He said, my dear Bharat, when you are taking people to work for you, it doesn't matter how close they are to you. If you do not give remuneration on the right time, if the remuneration is not matching to the amount of work they've offered, what will happen? It will give rise to rebellion. And when it gives rise to rebellion and anger, anyway the system collapses. Therefore, my dear Bharat, do not assume when you have taken people how much you have affection for them, how much love you have for them. It's important, no doubt. We have to. But it has to be reciprocated with proper resources. The great Jadunath Sarkar, when he presented Aurangzeb, how people twist the story. Recently, some leftist writer trying to give credits to Aurangzeb, he said in Aurangzeb's kingdom, more than Akbar, more than Jahangir, more than this person or that person, he gives the statistics, more number of Maratha Sardars are working for Aurangzeb. Therefore, to say that how Aurangzeb was not radical, he was not a jihadi, he was pure politician. Now, when you say like that, you do not give other part of the stories which is there in his own book only. I'm bringing this to this part only. The reason Aurangzeb started taking Maratha warriors, the leaders, because he wanted to break Shivaji Maharaj's army, the Maratha force. So he was bribing these people. Right, that part he doesn't mention. He was forced to take them. And while taking, it was not system-centric. Right? It was not based upon system. It was all about buying them. Sam, Dan, Dand, Bhed. Now he could not punish them because they were so far. He had to bribe them, offer them greater money than what Shivaji Maharaj could offer. He was purchasing them. He was promising them. And how it would work, like if he would give you some place to rule, then you have to give some part of the revenue to main king and rest you can keep. But the kind of revenue he was asking to receive or take by the subordinate kings was never possible to realize. And because the king was not able to pay what he had promised, many local from different parts of Bharat, the corruption increased manifold. Because you're not paying, because they're also maintaining the army. I don't come to you unless I have something to contribute. There was no one who came to Aurangzeb because they liked him, because it doesn't matter for him. Whether you like or not, if you don't have anything to contribute, I'm not going to take you just because you like me. I'm not going to pay you. You have to promise something, you have to deliver something. And because of that, he was not able to pay. So what happened? The local leaders who are supposed to pay to their mercenary soldiers or their own soldiers, they had to get money by any means. The corruption was so great. One of the commander, he bribed Aurangzeb only indirectly to get out of South India to go back to the northern India. Corruption itna बढ़ गया, right? And Ramachandra, thousands and thousands years ago, he is talking about human sensitivity, how human function, how human psychology is, right? One of the assumption, especially in the religious circle, is that as long as they listen to our philosophy, as long as they are subordinate to us, as long as we control them, give them as less as possible, they remain subordinate. It doesn't work like that. The entire Western world, Europe, rebelled against such dominating Christianity. The growth of Europe was not because of Christianity, but because they rebelled against Christianity. Right? So imagine how Valmiki Maharshi, through the mouth of our great Ramachandra, brings out this concept, because as we discussed in the very first day, it is based on the universal principle, their unchangeable principle. Again, Sri Ramchandra told to Bharat, this is Rajyakarta. He said, my dear Bharat, you know what? He said, there are some heroic people. They do not fear death. Because they do not fear death, but they are on the enemy camp. And what they can do, because they do not fear death, they are the greater enemy for your kingdom. They will do anything to break your people, to collect your resources, fend the enemy's army. He said you should look them particularly, and what do you do them? Not give them half of the country. आप अपने आप रूल करो, जैसे भारत का विभाजन हो गया, right? Valmiki Maharshi also chanted Ram's name, but he got the right purport of the Ram name through Valmiki Maharshi, Narad Muni, and he compiled Ramayana, not only the part of where Ram was very sweet and very compassionate, very forgiving. Ram was compassionate, Ram was forgiving, Ram wanted to elevate Ravan also, but when Ravan would not change, and Ram knew how to eliminate Ravan. Elevate or eliminate, both the principle he did. So then Lord Ramachandra said, such a person should be found. He is the greatest enemy of the kingdom, because he is fighting for the enemy. He should be eliminated. This is Ramachandra is saying. Again Ramachandra says, read in the Valmiki Maharshi Ramayana. He says, you are ambassador, Rajadut. कहाँ का होना चाहिए? The first quality of Rajadut is supposed to be born in the very land where you appoint him. Right? If you want to appoint a Rajadut, you cannot bring from Italy. Because however much you try, unless they are wedded with the ideology of this Rashtra, it is difficult to be loyal. To such an extent, taking clue from Valmiki's Ramayana, our Chanakya Pandit in Artha Shastra, very interesting point he mentions. He said during his time also, a lot of Greeks and Hunas would take to the path of Bhagavad Marg. Now, Bhagavad Marg was basically like Panchopasana was also there, not exactly what we practice Bhagavad Marg. Somebody would become Shiva's devotee, somebody would become Vishnu's devotee, somebody would practice, Jnana Marga. So what does our Artha Shastragya Chanakya Pandit takes? Great inspiration from these verses. He said the newly converted, they're converted to faith, not to the ideology of the Rashtra. उनको इस भूमि से निष्ठा नहीं होगी, उनको तत्व से निष्ठा होगी. तो king has to stay away from them. He should not come closer to them. Therefore, Sri Krishna read in the Mahabharata, whenever he conquered some kingdom through Yudhishthira Maharaj, he did not bring people from Hastinapur, did not bring people from Mathura to be the king of Angadesh. He did not make them the king of Magadha. He did not make them king of, after conquering Vidarbha, after kidnapping Rukmini Devi, Krishna had no interest in dislodging Rukmini's father and bring somebody from Mathura. No, not like that. They were all locals. They were very good in ruling their own places. They knew the psyche of that place. They knew the nuances of that place. And therefore, the Rashtra is different from patriotism. Yesterday, Krishna Chandra sent a nice article distinguishing between one leader talking about patriotism and other leader talking about Rashtra Bhakti. And the Bhagavatam 5th canto explains what is Bharat. Bharat is not simply an idea. It is also connected to the Sanskriti, and Bhagavatam 5th canto explains where you find these mountains, Sahyadri mountain, Vindhya mountain, the Himalaya Parvat, the Govardhan mountain, Mahendra mountain, all these mountains, wherever you find that tract of land is Bharat. And within those mountains, the valley, on the foothills of the mountains, there are many rivers flowing. And Shukadeva Goswami narrates different rivers. And he says, people from this tract of land regularly will go to bathe in these rivers. If they cannot bathe, they will remember these rivers. Or they will desire to go to these places. In this way, they will be purified. So, Bharat, affection for Bharat is not like the George Washington had for America. They came from European country, they conquer the local people and they build their country. One can be American citizen, no doubt. But to have that Atmiyata is very difficult. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. This is a very interesting principle Sri Ramchandra spoke to our great Bharata, and he explained, therefore, local person has to be appointed. And Sri Ram explains to Bharat again, my dear Bharat, when you take up to the project, he said one of the most important part of the project is that the decision of the project should be consulted with very few people, but not large number. You should not follow the path of not consulting anybody or consulting large number of people, because when large number of people give advices, you offend them because you will not be able to implement. They will confuse you. It should be small, right? And then Sri Ram also explained to Bharat, this is all happening when he has come to take back Lord Ram to Ayodhya. The father has passed away. There is a great separation. But still, what comes first? The first thing comes first, that is governance to the kingdom. And Sri Ramachandra asked Bharat, he said, when you perform some activities, my dear Bharat, he said, your kingdom, when you take certain project, your enemies should not come to know till almost the project is completed. And along with that, your own people, there could be internal people, they could leak those information. and therefore your secret services, is it very nicely established? When you read, you'll be shocked. And the same Sri Ramachandra, he told Bharat, रात के पहले प्रहर में, what do? You think about how to increase the prosperity of the nation. आप कितना भी देश के प्रति प्रेम करो, but if there is no resources to make yourself stable, it is but natural that they will love their country, but they want to go out to make money somewhere else. Clear, right? Ram is saying this, and therefore, when do you remember money making? In the middle of the night, almost Brahma Muhurta, and therefore the king, Chanakya Pandit explains, Krishna also spoke this to, Narad Muni spoke this to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Very interesting. Why like that? He said after getting up, especially for the king, when he gets up early morning, before he begins his spirituality, what he has to do, he has to think about what programs are there. What is the next day duty? Artha Prapti, looking to his medical, asking the Jyotish Shastragya. After doing that, then he takes to the path of morning sadhana, because then he has already done what he is supposed to do. And Artha Prapti, prosperity for the kingdom, is never a principle of poverty which is induced personally by somebody. A politician cannot practice poverty. Politician cannot practice luxury also. He cannot be extravagant. Right? Why he cannot be extravagant? Then he will not have any feeling for the citizen. And why he should not be poor? Because then he will impose his idea on somebody else. And therefore Lord Ramachandra told Bharat, as a king, my dear Bharat, when you get out of the kingdom to see your people, आपके प्रजा को देखने के लिए जाते हो, कैसे जाना चाहिए? हाथ में लकड़ी लेके फकीर के ड्रेस में नहीं. Right? You go gorgeously dressed. Rajvesh mein, you have to go in Rajvesh so that your people will have a consciousness of prosperity. I'm not saying this. Sri Ramachandra, our worshipable Lord, is saying this. And then Sri Ram also told Bharat, one of the most profound statement. He said, my dear Bharat, when you are performing your dharma should not obstruct your artha. And your artha should not obstruct your dharma. धर्म से अर्थ का नाश नहीं होना चाहिए और अर्थ से धर्म का नाश नहीं होना चाहिए. When artha and dharma are contradictory to each other, it gives rise to artificial extremism. Right? Again, if you go back and study history, one of the greatest wrong understanding people have, because of the Christianity, Europe grew. That's how the Indian converted Christians will say, just if you want prosperity, you have to follow Europe because it was a Christian country. No, sir. The historical reality was the local Christians had these three policies, wedding poverty, wedding simplicity, wedding austerity. Good for the monks. Right? So because of that, there was it's a whole historical books. You can read them. Because of this, what happened? The clergy had all the resources. Ordinary people were suffering. And when they would experience more suffering, the philosophy was given to them, suffering is inevitable in this world. Our goal is not to be here. Our goal is to go back to the kingdom of God. Correct. That is the goal of life, no doubt. But when you are telling those people who are suffering the day-to-day basic necessities of life, you are trying to pacify them by giving the philosophy of achieving perfection Even though you are suffering the basic necessities of life, at some point of time that gave to rebellion. Christianity was challenged through Protestant movement. Then the Industrial Revolution. Now Europe, we know what is happening there, right? But in India, the story is told differently. Therefore, Sri Ram is telling our Bharat, Artha and Dharma cannot be contradictory. There cannot be contradictory. Imagine Valmiki Maharshi, the great sage, living in the forest. Of course, he was a contemporary of Ram Bhagwan, Dasharath Maharaj. He knew the profound concept of life and philosophy. Adarsha and Vyavhara, Vyavhara and Adarsha were integrated. In this way, Ram speaking this principle to Bharat. Then what does he do? He comes to talk to Bharat about now the private matter of their family, the separation from the father. So please understand, when we study Valmiki's Ramayana, those who still ask the question about Ram sending Sita Maya to forest, they should better know this. Because for a king, family comes later. For a king, his personal emotions comes later. For a king, the sensitivity about his own family comes later. One may say, but this is cruel. How can you do it? Unless the king does like that, the other people in the society, they will not put their family in priority. The very reason the king is putting his family into a sacrificial fire, so that others, the ordinary people, others can have a great life. Because without bali, without sacrifice, at least there has to be some people who sacrifice so that others enjoy their life nicely. If everybody says, going to army, death is guaranteed, why should I go? Then the enemy will come to your home only. Right? They will slaughter right in your home. Imagine. So therefore, the teachers, the doctors, the police department, the soldiers, right? Their life is always unpredictable in regards to living the life of certainty. They were always contributing for the sake of the society. Therefore, the concept of Bali, Narabali was very symbolic. Narabali is not that you take some human being and slaughter them. Narabali means certain section of the society had a lesser facility to make their life happy, private with my family. No, थोड़े लोगों को त्याग करना ही पड़ता था, and the Raghukula was known for that. And therefore, Lord Ram, one very interesting point, nowadays, there is the conscious denigrating of your Kula Dharma. If you study carefully, the Bharatiyas, the Indians are taught to dislike their ancestors, dislike their precedent, dislike their Kula Dharma, because it gives them some kind of, feeling of guilt. I see many, leftist people who are born in a Brahmin family, they have such a hatred with full force. There is no need to do that. With full force, they hate the entire concept of knowledge system, the Indic knowledge system. Khunnas ke saath, right? But that doesn't benefit. Every civilization has certain good people and bad people. Rectify the bad, re-establish the good. Right? So therefore, Lord Ramachandra, when he was working, when he was doing this, he taught people to take, pride and more responsibility about their Kula Dharma. Therefore, as Anaranya had predicted that my future, the future generation will be responsible for eliminating Ravan, Lord Ram did that. And after doing that, when he met Mother Sita, first time they are meeting, the exam has to happen, the Agni Pariksha has to happen. Of course, Agni Pariksha was decided by Sita Devi only, not Lord Ram. Lord Ramachandra simply tested her without telling her that I am going to test you. And in that test, the language which he spoke, the language of a powerful Kshatriya. Again, those who are driven by always sentiments without that human valor, they'll feel offended. So here Sita Devi, when she met Sri Ram in a public place, Ram makes a statement. And imagine listening to such a statement. Lord Ramachandra said, "Hey Sita, I have done my duty. I have done my duty of proving the credibility of Raghukula. Right? I have proven the credibility of Raghukula. I have proven the power of Raghukula. It is not that I have fetched you because I am weak." Even though Lord Ram was internally pained, he was missing Sita Devi. We have seen it continuously. Before before Sita was found, till he met Sita Devi, there was pain. Repeatedly, Valmiki Maharshi explains. And then when Sita Devi disappeared in the Mother Earth, there is so much of outburst of Sri Ramachandra. So there is no question of Lord Ramachandra not loving Sita Devi. But this was the test, and he tells after the test is over why he uses this language. And what is that language? One of the language, I have done what is supposed to be done by a person from that Kula, proven the credibility. Therefore, that thoda sa ahankar, that astitva ka ahankar is important to contribute. And Sita was no less. She was hurt, no doubt. But she was also a daughter of a Kshatrani. She was the daughter of a Kshatriya. Right? She also took that responsibility to prove, hey, I have a credibility. So therefore, when somebody says I am born in a low jati, that is the wrong understanding. No jati, no varna is less in regards to contribution. Man is not less because where he is born. Man or woman is less because what they do. Read the scriptures. Right? The work of a ordinary worker when he is performing his work, a kalakar, a karigar, a kuli, when he is lifting all that load, Bhishmadev says the work of that person is a representation of Vishnu only. And therefore, what does he say? One of the greatest need for so-called ordinary people, क्या चाहते हो? सबसे बड़ा गौरव चाहते हैं, गौरव, respect. And therefore, Valmiki Maharshi writes in the Ramayana as the Falastuti. If the Brahmana reads Ramayana, he will become intellectual. If a Kshatriya reads the Ramayana, he will become valorous. If a Vaishya reads Ramayana, he will get prosperity. And if Shudra reads Ramayana, he will get Gaurav, self-respect. Like Prabhupada mentioned that story when he was in Kolkata. Very, very inspiring story. He said he was talking to one of his friends and they were standing, having a gap. And one lady, a sweeper lady came. And this happened in 1920s. He said when she came, two men who were talking to each other, so-called responsible people, no doubt, they just moved. And what is his realization, he said she was ordinary, but still she commanded that respect. She made us to respect her. गौरव देने के लिए उन्होंने हमें प्रेरणा दी, इंस्पिरेशन, जबरदस्ती नहीं किया, इंस्पायर किया. And that is there in the Valmiki's Ramayana, right? So Valmiki Ramayana, our Lord Ramachandra socially was so sensitive. Now Shabari, right? Shabari, even though some people claim that Lord Ram killed Jambuka, who happened to be Shudra. Why he killed him? That is not an important issue. He was Shudra, therefore he killed him. But he killed Ravan also, who was a Brahman. Khardushan, he was a Brahman. They became Naxalite, the original Naxalite. Wali was a Brahman doing Gayatri Mantra. Usko bhi mara. Mara jati ke liye nahi mara. Not because they were particular caste. They were killed because they had become criminals. If Lord Ram had to kill because of jati, how is that the same Ramachandra came to Shabari? Now Shabari is not even from the four main castes. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Caste is not jati, varna. And what does Lord Ram tell her? He says, my dear Shabari, how is your tapasya? A charu bhashini, one who knows the art of good speech. Sri Ramachandra received seva from her. He accepted the fruit what she offered because he had stopped eating cooked food only. Right? Lord Ramachandra hugged Guha, who was from the tribal community. उसको गले लगाया. अगर च्युत अच्युत की बात होती तो भगवान उसको स्पर्श नहीं करते थे. He hugged him. Therefore, those who read Valmiki's Ramayana carefully will understand how Lord Ram was greatly sensitive. And we narrated this also. Ram बहुत बड़े आदर्श थे. राम का आदर्श पालन नहीं कर सकते. Sometimes people say we want to be Krishna. We want to follow the Krishna's ideal because it is more practical. There is no distinction. Sri Ram's time was much more straight. Therefore, Lord Ram followed those rules which gave rise to success. But he was extremely flexible. And we narrated that. Sri Ramachandra allowed Sugriv marrying Tara, the original person who agreed for widow marriage. Manu Samhita, where people blast Manu Samhita, Manu Samhita gives 3 to 4 verses about widow marriage. Right? The whole concept of they choosing, I don't want to marry in separation my husband, I want to live like a tapasvi, that's their choice, it's not an exploitation. They have the right to live like that. But it is forced upon them as so-called ritual, then the very stories which was part of an inspiration become cause of contention. Right? Sita Maya would sit equally and talk to Lord Ramachandra. There was no such distinction. We saw our Tara, Mandodari, how much knowledge they had. Kaushalya Maya used to run a Gurukul. Whatever funding she would get from her husband as a stipend, she had so many students to study under him. Study under her means she had appointed some Gurukul teacher. Kaikeyi, for whatever reason, imagine Kaikeyi was expert in riding the chariot, taking her husband in the battlefield and maneuvering like a great chariot driver. So what is such a dynamic society? In the Valmiki's Ramayana, Valmiki Maharshi explains the drama acting was done by the ladies on the stage. They would play the role of man, they would play the role of women, they would play the role of warriors, and they would perform great drama. It's there in the Valmiki's Ramayana, Balkan. Right? Imagine the society was so dynamic, whether it is social, whether it is Varnashram centric, whether it was cultural, whether it is political, one story of Lord Ram being very politically astute, many, but I will narrate one or two. Acceptance of Vibhishan. Who in the world, when the war is about to start, will accept the person from the enemy's camp? Imagine the lieutenant general or a general of Pakistani suddenly wants to come to India when India had a war in 1971. How can you trust such a person? There is no way you can trust. So Vibhishan came to Lord Ramachandra asking for his shelter. That is one of the most beautiful episode in regards to, it is the heart of Ramayana because it is connected to Sharanagati. But along with the heart of Ramayana, it is also the one of the greatest strategy mentioned in the Ramayana. Along with the strategy of Ramayana, it proves Ram knew his own power, what he can do, what he cannot do. So some of the kapis were basically saying, no, you cannot accept him. How can you accept him? Because he is this person, is that person. He just came. We have not examined him. We have not tested him. Hanumanji also gave his opinion, beautiful opinion. But he made one statement which Ram did not openly appreciate. He kept silent, as we have discussed before. Hanumanji said, oh, he has come hearing about how you gave kingdom to Sugriv. But Vibhishan had given up everything. He had come with the one intention of to take shelter of Sri Ram. Then Ram decided to give complete shelter to Vibhishan, but Sugriva was still insisting. What if he harms? What he does this? What he does that? Then Sri Ram made a very profound statement. Sometimes we overlook this quality of Lord Ram and only focus on how Lord Ram gave Sharanagati to Vibhishan. He gave no doubt. But in giving Sharanagati, he was very clear. When Sugriv again doubted the behavior of Vibhishan, he said, hey Vibhishan, he said, hey Sugriv, if Vibhishan strikes, I have the capacity, through simply my thumb, I can destroy the creation. तो भगवान के दया में क्षमता थी, if that daya was misused. If somebody is going to misuse that daya, Lord Ramachandra had the power not to allow that to happen. His daya was not blind. His compassion was not blind. Many times people want to practice the adarsh of Ram, being the older brother, doing everything for their younger brothers. Or there are many younger brothers or sisters, they would do everything for their elder brother. Oh, to Ram ke saman hai. Ya ye bolenge Lakshman ke saman hai. In the emotional adarsha, they forget to practice the alert vyavahar, that nobody can mess up with me. Imagine this was the credibility of Sri Ram and nobody could do anything against that. ये भी कथा है रामायण में. Ram is soft, right? At the same time, Ram is very powerful. He always carried his weapon. He never kept the weapon even though he was in the forest. Shastra हमेशा उनके हाथ में था. Right? So therefore, Sri Ram, when he was again in the Kishkinda Kshetra, the entire episode of eliminating Wali is a master stroke. Lord Ram did not want to have a trouble with the Kishkinda's people. The Kishkinda's people had experienced the governance of Sugriv. They had experienced the governance of Wali also. So just eliminating Wali for his crime, bringing Sugriv, would not create any revolution in the kingdom. So therefore, rather than having an open war, what did Lord Ramachandra do? Lord Ramachandra simply eliminated one person, Wali, and Sugriv was made into the king. You don't see any conflict happening in Kishkinda Kshetra. But in Ravana's Lanka, Ravan was like a cult figure. Sri Ramachandra had to prove there was Ravan, there was Kumbhakarna. He knew what Ravan did, but still he wanted to fight for Ravan. You think Indrajit would transform? He would try to take revenge. He had to be eliminated. Akshay Kumar had to be eliminated. Kai Atika had to be eliminated. Mahaparshva had to be eliminated. You name so many Rakshasas, they were so blind in regards to following Ravan. They were as bad as Ravan in regards to their boastfulness. All they had to go. Right? And then when Ram declares, the coronation of Vibhishan happened twice. One was done by Ram outskirts of Lanka before actually killing of Ravan. And once Ravan was killed again, he was coronated, everybody to see. Now Vibhishan is the king. And he continued to stay as the king, and the Pandavas performed their Rajasuya sacrifice. I think Sahadev came to South India and he got great tributes from Vibhishan for the Rajasuya sacrifice. So therefore Sri Ram, whether political alertness, whether social alertness, we cannot separate him. Of course, more than anything else, Sri Ram stands as the great object of devotion of his devotees. The ultimate destination, to serve him, to love him, to glorify him. Right? When we glorify Sri Ram, we worship Sri Ram, offer our devotion to Sri Ram with the story of Valmiki's Ramayana, then what does it do? It makes us Samartha Ramdas. I love this concept. Not Shanda Ramdas, not eunuch Ramdas, right? Who has nothing to contribute, who is sitting and hoping that Ram will do something for me. The whole study of Valmiki's Ramayana is to inspire that valor, inspire that devotion, inspire that helplessness in serving Ram, not in regards to receiving from Ram. Oh, I'm helpless now, I need something from Ram. No. Helplessness, when it is born in regards to serving Ram, it gives rise to greater valor and greater shelter. What did Vibhishan do after Sharanagati? He surrendered to Lord Ramachandra, no doubt. After that, Vibhishan did not sit there. He was giving vital information, to Lord Ramachandra in regards to Ravana's secrets. Imagine if Ram had rejected Vibhishan in the name of weakening our own army, the vital information would have not come. So Ram took that risk. As a king, he took that risk. As a powerful king, he took that risk knowing very well Vibhishan can only do very less harm. But as Bhagavan, as Sri Ramachandra, the greatest, the Gunavan, as Valmiki Maharshi explains, the Saulabhyatvam, accessibility. Imagine lakhs of soldiers from Sugriv Sena, they were walking along with Ram. एक साधारण मुख्यमंत्री और साधारण मंत्री को मिलने के लिए people have to wait in line, and after meeting them also most of the things don't happen. But here Sri Ram, whom all the sages worship, right? They do meditate upon him. Some people meditate so much they're exhausted and they question his existence also, because they feel is not accessible. That very Ram became so accessible to this Kapi Sena. Right? He became accessible to Vibhishan, accepted Vibhishan, knowing very well That one fault of the Vibhishan will continue to remain. What is that fault? That he was born as a brother of Ravan. Ram said it doesn't matter. So therefore, a Bhagavan, the quality of Bhagavan is so beautiful that we have limitless limitations, but we have ocean-like potentials also. So Ram knows what are our limitations. He knows how not to, how those limitations can be dealt with when a living entity is closer to Sri Ram, and use the potential of that living entity to grow to such an extent and contribute. And therefore, when all the Kapis had told Ram, these are the faults in Vibhishan, and Hanumanji said, my dear Lord, I don't see any fault in him. He is free from any fault. Sri Ramachandra respected everybody's opinion, but he said, why accept him? I accept him because it is my dharma. Rakshita swasya dharmasya. We begin by that. Apne dharma ki raksha karna. And what is his dharma? His dharma is, hey Kapisena, I know this fault of Vibhishan will never go away. वो जो दोष है, being the brother of Ravan, will not go away, but that is not kalanka. That is not dosha. What is my power? Even though apparently this dosha is there, I have chosen to accept because I see limitless alankaras, abhushan within Vibhishan, and therefore for the devotees of Lord Ram, the Vibhishan Sharanagati is considered as the heart of Ramayana. Just like Draupadi's Sharanagati is the heart of Mahabharata, and Gopi's devotion is the heart of Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, when we study Valmiki's Ramayana, last 7 days, right, so many devotees and others have come to hear Ram Katha, right, to integrate our life devotionally, intellectually, socially, culturally. Hoping and praying that Sri Ram remains forever in our heart, and also he continues to stay in the heart of the future generation. We will give Vishram to our English Katha last 7 days, and tomorrow and day after on the same time we will do 2 days Hindi Katha, and we will relish Valmiki's Ramayana with understanding of Hindi, focusing on all the great qualities described by our Valmiki Maharshi in the Ramayana. Thank you for your attention. Jai Sri Ram. Any questions or comments? See, again, when Prabhupada started, yesterday spoke about Wali performing Sandhyavan, though he was not a Brahmin. Srila Prabhupada also spoke about establishing Daiva Varnashram. Why in ISKCON we have only Brahmin initiation and not Kshatriya and Vaishya initiation? Very simple to understand. The religious organization, they are more connected to teaching. It's a teacher's job. It's an educationalist job. They are not here to create an army. They are here to create teachers. And these teachers, if they know that I can contribute something beyond being a teacher also, the entire facility is there. When you do your professional work, one can join the army, one can do the, join the police department, keeping the spirit of Krishna. Even for a Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, the Upanan samskar with little changes was there, because Brahmanatva is nothing to do with the Brahmana. Brahmanatva is the refined quality aspired by every living entity, even for a Kshatriya. Shivaji Maharaj had Janu, Krishna had also, even though apparently was raised by the Vaishya Kula. So therefore, the Manu explains that different thread indicates invoking different power. Brahmaji for our for the education, knowledge, and then Lord Shiva for Kshatriyatva, and I forgot for Vaishya. So therefore, the Vaishya Vritti, to increase Vaishya Vritti, Artha Shastra of Chanakya is there, and Mahabharata and Ramayana. I wrote a book also called as Money and Mahabharata. You can see that. So, no doubt that Valmiki Ramayana is full of rasa and practically for life, but it is not also true that political society of Mahabharata show more similarity to today, whereas Ramayana things are very straight. Naturally, therefore, certain, like Lord Ram had no problem giving the kingdom to Bharat forever, because Bharat had such a good quality. The great Kamba Ramayankar explains, you can find Ram, but to find Bharat is very difficult. So therefore, naturally, if he had a brother like Duryodhan, you think Lord Ram would go to the forest, he would fix this also. When somebody is there to fix, it became easier for Lord Ram to leave Ayodhya and go and do his duty of fighting so many Rakshas and making alliances. Very easy to understand. No? In spite of having so much of wisdom, why did we become? We did not become slaves of the Islamic invasion of British. Okay, we kept on. You can study again. That is a wrong understanding. It was a struggle of 1,000 years. Study Egyptian civilization, study the European civilization, study the African civilization, study the South American civilization. They lost their original religion, they lost their language also. The Brazilians, why do they speak Portuguese language? Right? Why people speak Spanish in South America? Why somebody has to speak Arabic in Africa beyond certain countries? Right? So therefore, when you study this carefully, why the Europeans have to worship Jesus, who is basically an Arabic god? If he's a god, he's a so that is the power of invasion, where people lost their native culture. If you go and ask European, I do that. What was your religion before you came to practicing yoga, becoming Hare Krishna? They said, I was a Christian. I said, no, before that. They're confused. Right? Before that, we are Christian always. No, you are not a Christian because it's 2,000 years old. Before that, there was something else also. But if you ask any Christian or any local Muslim, he will tell, हमारे ancestor Hindu the. Right? So therefore, it is a battle. The invasion was real, no doubt. If you study our own history also, it was a pocket during Babur's time. When Babur was ruling North India, in South India, the entire Vijayanagar Samrajya, the area wise, their kingdom was greater than Babur. People don't tell us this. Their resources, the Vijayanagar kings built such a systems, whether it is education, whether it is knowledge, whether it is trade. One of the first spectacles, which was brought, was worn by Vyasatirtha, the guru of Krishna Devaraya in 1525, 1530. use the people, getting the resources, use that resources in building Vijayanagar kingdom also. Shivaji Maharaj was expert in metallurgy, right? They build the ships. It is discussed about the ship. Yes, what happened was our people were always careful not to spoil the environment. And therefore, the mechanical progression, whether it is building plane, whether it is building railways, whether it is building, like if you study about the metal, the unalloyed metal, the concept of building unalloyed metal was there since thousands of years. If you go and see the Qutub Minar, if you go and see the column which is, the Greek people established somewhere in North India, it is unalloyed. Abhi tak kharab nahi hua hai. But why they did not? Because they knew to use as less as possible. Now because, one of the greatest reason Europe became powerful, because the revolution through which they created an industrial revolution. And industrial revolution certainly has increased the facility for people, but also increase convenience, and that convenience has caused laziness. Right? All technological advancement is as much as convenient, it is more destructive also. Modern medicine, yes, can perform complex surgeries, no doubt, can give out complex diagnosis, right? But more people are dying, more people are mentally sick. So therefore, we would not agree for such a destructive, development. So there, the Bharatiya people stayed behind. And because of that firepower, because of that, using that policy of divide and rule, for some time, for sure, we were controlled, and we are still controlled in regards to our education system. No, the very reason. But again, we have those drawbacks. But another beauty of Bharatiya is that he takes more languages. There is no other country in this world who can speak more languages than Indians. Right? How many people in America can speak 3 to 4 languages? How many in France people can speak 3, 4 languages? Like a Mumbai wala, he understands the Urdu. Unfortunately, using the wrong language is not a problem. Language में जो आ रहा है वो problem है. No language is the problematic. He can speak Urdu, he can speak Hindi, he can speak Marathi, he can understand Gujarati, he can speak English also. Ask any ordinary Mumbai wala how many bhasha he knows. Right? If you go to Bengaluru, they will speak Kannada, they will speak Tamil, they will speak Telugu also, they will speak Hindi. Nowadays they are doing some nonsense, and they will speak English also. If you come to where I grew up, I speak Marathi, I speak Kannada, I speak Hindi, I learn English, right? I understand Konkani. You understand Gujarati being here. You may not speak, you understand Bengali, you may not speak also. तो भारतीय भाषा आपको इतने सारे, so how is where is the concept of being enslaved? We are lazy in regards to not being alert, but we are not enslaved. We are fighters. We fought the battle, and will continue to fight the battle. And therefore, I remember talking to an Adivasi teacher. She does lot of seva in the area of Gujarat. She is not simply complacent. She said, जब हिरण्यकश्यपु ने सनातन धर्म को नष्ट नहीं कर पाया, जब रावण ने सनातन धर्म को नष्ट न कर पाया, कंस ने कर नहीं पाया, तो ये औरंगजेब कौन होता है? But that doesn't mean that we should keep our eyes blind. Oh, nothing will be destroyed, we don't have to worry. No, you don't have to worry for Sanatan Dharma, but you have to worry about your Sanatan Dharma, आपके personal धर्म को, because that can be easily converted. If not you, your children could be converted. So we will, yes, there are samskaras for girl also. It may not be called as Sandhya Vandan, Upanayan, but yes, there are. So we'll meet tomorrow.